All right, let's talk Dallas Cowboys. I'm Nick, and this is our daily Cowboy Show post-game edition. First time we're going to do this, and I tell you what, guys, I don't know. I mean, as you can see, I'm a little flustered. I'm a little red. It was cardiac arrest. My cardiologist, future cardiologist. I'm sure there are cardiologists all across this country right now, fans of America's team, that are just seeing their profits just explode in the future, because that was one incredible game. It was not a good performance from Dallas as a team perspective, but it was a gutsy performance and it was a winning performance, right? And we'll get into the details and the data tomorrow morning, and when I go dive into it, and the film will come in the days over the course of this week. But let's just talk about high level here. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to Dak Prescott, right? I think he started the game poorly. He had that interception to start the second half. And when it was time to be clutch, he was clutch. I thought, look, there were some of the early overtime possessions. I don't think it was necessarily his fault that some of those things didn't work out. But when it's time to make the winning play, guess what? He did. Russell Wilson had the game of his life. It was the best game of his career, certainly in about 6 or 7 years. Probably the best game since 2020 that he had, ironically, against Dallas Cowboys. I remember he had a monster day that game. But it was the best game of his career. And in overtime, he had that weird fumbled, throw that went backwards with pressure in his face, and then threw the interception. Dak Prescott took care of the football, made the winning plays. Got to give credit to Aubrey. Again, clutch. I mean, I tell you what, they've been extending guys, and we'll talk about Tyler Smith, who had, I think, a decent game overall. They extended him. I think Aubrey's next on the list. But look, it was one of those games where the Cowboys come in and they're just so depleted in the secondary, and they played, even their starters, their healthier guys. Diggs had a disastrously bad game, probably the worst game I've ever seen from Trayvon Diggs. Elam played very poorly. Donovan Wilson had probably the worst game of his career, and that's saying something. He's had some clunkers over the course. It just was a very bad game. Whatever Eberflus came up with, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow, the Giants just could eviscerate with big plays. And the pass rush, obviously without Micah Parsons, just wasn't there. Eberflus isn't a big blitzer, so he kind of held back on blitzing. But it was one of those things where it just, what a way to get a victory, right? And that's one of those things. Congratulations to Coach Schottenheimer for getting it done. I thought Murray had one of the worst first quarters I've ever seen a linebacker have, and he finished up making a lot of big plays down the stretch. A couple of tackles for loss, flying around, some good tackles. So I thought he ended up making some plays. I thought the front four, in terms of stopping the run, did a good job, very good job. The Giants aren't necessarily good at running the football, but you never know how these games work out. The Cowboys were never really heavy in the box. They played basically two linebackers, sometimes three, depending on the situation. Linebacker would kind of be out in zone coverage, out of the box anyway. Sometimes they'd roll linebacker out, roll safety up, and they did good team defense in the run game there. Pass rush was meh. I would give it a C+. Ezraku's been kind of a non-factor to start his career. I will say these things take time. Fowler was basically benched. I thought that was interesting. We'll talk about that more in the coming days. But look, I'm just going to try and pull up the score here and look at these just team stats just from a high-level perspective. I mean, we're looking at, 32-22 Cowboys first downs, third down even. Total yards about even. We're talking about almost 1,000 yards of offense, right? Yards per play obviously was much bigger to New York because of the big plays. Penalties were a big factor, but it's one of those things. Early on, it was all the Giants getting the penalties. In the second half, it was New York. Did you know the Dallas Cowboys finished with 12 penalties? That ain't going to get it done. So we'll get into the data tomorrow. We'll get into all that stuff tomorrow. It's just trying to figure out exactly what we think of this Cowboys team. I think first and foremost, enjoy the victory, right? The one thing I'm thinking about right now is how good Dak Prescott was when it needed to make the plays. How good Brandon Aubrey was, right? Ferguson did some good things too. Talk about a clutch catch. It wasn't perfect, but he got the job done. CeeDee Lamb, good bounce back game, over 100 yards receiving. Pickens was clutch too, right? It was the stars made the star plays. And I think it was one of those things where, really on both sides, to be honest, Malik Neighbors is a superstar young wide receiver because he was with a bad Giants offense last season. He didn't get a lot of credit. He also was banged up. He's going to be star in the NFL, and he acted like it. Now, of course, the defensive secondary for the Cowboys was disastrously awful. I mean, I don't know if that's the worst game I've ever seen the Cowboys secondary play. I can think of some 2020 games. I can think of, honestly, if I go back to, I think it was, I want to say 17, or I'm going to say like 12 or 13, where they had a 2-score lead late against the Giants, and Eli Manning drove 2 touchdowns in the final 5 minutes after a long Dez Bryant touchdown. You guys can maybe dig up the actual game that happened. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think it was the opening game at Texas Stadium, maybe. I don't remember. There's so many things. I tell you what, my heart is pounding, just all over the place here. I thought the Cowboys started off very slowly. I thought Dable and company, they came in, Russell Wilson, something to prove. They were definitely a lot looser this week, right? If you listen to the Giants media ahead of the game, they said, listen, Dable opening up more, right? There's definitely a lot more opening in terms of being the disciplinarian that he tries to be. Comes from, of course, that kind of Patriots kind of lineage. He wants to be that kind of guy. Not quite Tom Coughlin, but that same kind of mindset. They played loose and they played like it, right? I mean, they weren't perfect. They made a lot of mistakes. But the Dallas Cowboys defensively, their secondary, I mean, was just horrifically bad. I mean, this secondary with the injuries without Deron Bland, this may be the worst secondary in football. And the help, and I've said this before, through the preseason. I said, listen, September is going to be rough because of how bad the secondary is. I thought because Diggs was hurt, Diggs came back and played like absolute garbage. I mean, to be fair, there could have been some, things he was coached to do, right? There were some things where he was like expecting safety help and it wasn't there. It's hard to figure out, right? I don't know. But I honestly think Diggs played poorly. I think Elam played poorly. I think Donovan Wilson played poorly. But guess what? He made the play that mattered. It's with that interception at the end. It's one of those things where Javonte Williams, they ran the ball, I think, well. Williams ran hard. It wasn't perfect running the football for Dallas, but they outrushed the New York Giants. Let me see if I can pull up the numbers here, and I'm not going to get too much into stats, but outrushed them 135-84. 3 for 3 in the red zone. The Giants 1 for 5. I mean, you talk about, and I will say, I will give some credit to the Cowboys defense, as bad as they were in the fourth quarter. And you can make an argument every defense was bad in the fourth quarter. The Giants, who have a good defensive front, by the way, were not very good in the fourth quarter, of course. But the Cowboys defense, to their credit, limited it with some red zone stops. They got that 2 field goals early. They got the stop before the half to not surrender any points. That looks big now, of course. And then you look at that 4th down stop after the takeaway. Even after they gave up that big play when Dallas took the first lead 17-13, they gave up a 50-yard completion but still held them to a field goal. It was a bad performance. You're not going to tell me anything as a team. Dallas defensively was god-awful terrible. Oh my goodness, that was really, really bad. And I think they've got some serious issues, serious problems to resolve. But in terms of just fighting through some things in the first 2 or 3 quarters, they found a way. Then the Cowboys offense got going. And it's one of those things, they figured out a way, right? I thought the Cowboys offensive line, look, they weathered injuries. Beebe got hurt, Turpin got hurt. Both those guys missed the game. Both teams came into the game banged up, to be fair, right? The Dallas Cowboys, obviously, without guys like Overshown, without depth guys at corner to the extreme, and of course, one of their best corners in Deron Bland. The Giants were out a number of guys as well. But when you factor in Turpin, who had a really nice game, when you factor in, of course, your starting center, Cooper Beebe, now this is where Hoffman stepped in, and I don't know how well he did, but they were able to, obviously, they had that fumbled snap that derailed one play there and really set a drive back. But outside of that, I think the backups found a way. And I think that's one of those things where if you look at a team that can find a way to win games, I think that's the positive, right? And that's the thing you can focus on in any time at moments like this. And one thing I will say that's positive about this, because this game kind of reminded me a little bit stylistically of course, that game's week 2 of 2020 at home, the Cowboys home opener, against Atlanta. They were dominated the whole game, and they kind of came back and won. The difference between this game and that game is that it was sort of a back-and-forth struggle. I think physically, the Cowboys got manhandled by the Falcons a lot. Matt Ryan carved them up. They made a lot of special teams mistakes. Here, the Cowboys, I think, they made a lot of mistakes, but they found a way to make plays, right? It wasn't just, it came down to an onside kick and, a crazy comeback, right? It wasn't one of those games. It was a game where the Cowboys twice had leads late in the fourth quarter and the defense gave up touchdowns. It was in overtime, twice the Cowboys had the football and got nothing, and the defense found a way to get 2 stops. So again, when it's all said and done, the Cowboys found a way to get the win. And I mean, in the comment section below, give me your first thoughts, guys. I mean, I don't really know how much to think about this game because, after week 1 and the performance in Philadelphia, it was like this team is buttoned up, they're put together, things are going well, they've got issues defensively that we know about, but they're close, right? The CeeDee Lamb makes a few catches, maybe they beat Philly, and in this game, it's sort of the other way around, and I think that's the Cowboys this year, right? And I've talked about this a lot, and I feel like tooting my own horn here, but I've been saying the Cowboys they're going to be a heart attack all season long. They are structured right now with their talent to be in a lot of games, Schottenheimer stylistically in a lot of games, but they're not good enough to win a lot of football games. That's in terms of, blowing people out, winning 12, 13 games. I think, again, I don't know where they're going to sit record-wise. I mean, interesting matchup against the Bears next week. We'll see how that goes. Bears got trounced by Detroit today. My goodness, that's a I mean, the Bears, after 3 good opening quarters against the Minnesota Vikings, have played 5 quarters of bad football. They'll be hungry next week, much like the Giants were. And I guarantee you, this secondary, until Deron Bland gets back, maybe he'll get back next week. I hope he does, because it's one of those things. That was just a rough performance. I don't know what you do, Eberflus, going forward. I think you got to come up with some sort of scheme, some sort of strategy to blitz more. I think you kind of just got to have to live with it. If you're going to give up big plays and you're playing cover 2 and cover 3 and just get eviscerated with big plays, you just don't stand a chance. And I think right now the Cowboys secondary, with the injuries they have, before Carson gets back, before Revel gets back, before Butler gets back, and we'll see when Bland gets back. Obviously, it's a new defensive coordinator, right? There's going to be some issues anyway. But they were playing Bridges, they were playing Reddy Stewart, they were throwing a lot of guys out there, and they were not making plays. Diggs was not making plays, right? I thought the pass rush did okay. I thought in the second half they were pretty much non-existent. I think pass rush was, look, you trade away Michael Parsons, pass rush is going to get significantly worse. And we saw they benched Dante Fowler. I think after this game, Jadeveon Clowney probably gets signed, and we may get a call from Marshawn Gilmore just to hold over for a week or two. We'll have to Stephon Gilmore, not Marshawn Gilmore, of course, to come in and maybe play corner for Dallas if Bland's injury looks like he's going to be out another week. But yeah, guys, I don't know what to think about this one, right? It's one of those games where, you get the win and you take it, right? You obviously take any victory you can. Winning in the National Football League is hard. Division wins are hard. And I know the Giants probably aren't going to be a good football team this year. But you know what? You find a way to win. And if you give an example, if you're going to be optimistic, if you look at the 2024, I'm going to pull it up for you here, guys, Washington Commanders, right? Who obviously made a run to the NFC Championship game. I know people probably don't want me to talk about Washington too much, but if you look at the Washington Commanders 2024 schedule and just how the season went out, after losing week 1, they won 3 points, 3-point game against New York, right? Kind of an ugly win. They found a way to win. They won a shootout against Cincinnati. They had 2 good wins against mediocre teams. They got beat by Baltimore pretty handily. They obliterated Carolina. We're looking pretty good. But then they had miracle wins against Chicago, close win against New York, couple 3 straight losses, close losses, and then they started pulling off miracle wins. New Orleans Saints, miracle win. Eagles, miracle win. Falcons, miracle win in overtime. They beat the Cowboys the final game of the regular season. A lot of close wins in the postseason. Now, I don't know if Dallas will be like Washington and make a run at it. I don't know. It's way too early to tell. And look, this secondary, they've got problems. This is a really, really bad group. And this was supposed to be a strength coming into the season. And I know injuries are a problem, right? You're down 3 of your top 4 guys. We're being totally honest, right? At least 3 of the top 5. I know Kyrie Elam had a good camp, but to be honest, he's not coming into your season as like, hey, if we're really counting on Kyrie Elam to be one-on-one and Malik Neighbors, we're going to have a good season. And that's kind of what they relied on, and it didn't work. But they found a way. They just found a way to get it done, guys. And I guess that's what matters. Just to give up 1 touchdown through 3 quarters and then 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter is absolutely mind-boggling. And then go 2 straight possessions, giving up no points, and then getting your first takeaway of the season. It's finding a way to win, right? And give credit to the Cowboys for resiliency. And for being clutch. And I think one of the things that we saw is that this Giants team, I'm going to give some credit to Dable and Russell Wilson here. Wilson had a phenomenal game. He had a bad overtime, but he had a phenomenal game. The Giants receivers were absolutely outstanding. A lot of it was coverage bust. That's the part that was so frustrating, is that guys run wide open 30 yards down the field. But it's clear the secondary and I will say schematically what the Giants did, and this is what the Cowboys are going to have to come up with an answer. And I'll look more at the film, but it felt like the Giants, it was a little bit like, remember when Green Bay eviscerated Dallas in the wild card game after the 2023 season, where basically what the Packers would do is they do like sort of max protect, play action, and kind of handle the pass rush long enough, and they would just flood vertically. They'd run clear out routes and run digs and posts underneath that. They'd run some crossing routes, and they said, listen, you guys, we're going to max protect before your pass rush can get there, and you can't hang with us because your structure, your cover 3 defense, the way you play it, and your man-to-man and Dan Quinn's defense, we're going to beat this a million times, right? Your whole strategy is your pass rush can get there. We're going to hold up just long enough. And right now, what the Giants did was something not exactly the same, but stylistically similar. They felt, well, the Cowboys' pass rush isn't going to be enough to get there, so we're going to just take shots downfield, and eventually we're going to just start hitting them. And they hit them all, except in overtime. They made just enough plays. I think Sam Williams with some pressure. Look, they got it done. It's one of those weird things. I thought the performance against Philadelphia, I gave it a B-, and I thought this was a C performance as a team. But the difference is win and loss, right? It's the factor of the opponent, getting it done, getting a division win. Unbelievable. You look at Williams ran hard. Javonte Williams ran hard. CeeDee Lamb 100 yards receiving. I mean, it's one of those games where they just found a way. And I don't really know much more to say. I'm curious what you guys' thoughts are in the comment section below. Again, get into the numbers more tomorrow. If you look at the stats, they're kind of all over the place here, but they end up pretty even in terms of total yards and total penalties. Takeaways, one apiece. First downs, Dallas had more, which makes sense. So the Giants had more big plays, which obviously yards per play gets adjusted there. I think give credit to red zone defense in the first 3 quarters and give credit to Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense in the fourth quarter. And look, I don't know how you fix this defensively, but again, finding a way. Special teams, Aubrey, Prescott. This a 40-point offensive output. There you go. Good job. All right. Listen, I normally like to end talking about comments in the comment section below. I'll pull it up from my last video just to see what people have to say here about what just happened. I don't know if anyone did here. A lot of people talking about how good Romo was for Dallas, and he certainly was. And this was kind of a game that Romo would win or lose, right? It was that season. And I kind of tell people, this year so far feels like 2011, 2012, 2013, right? If we're being totally honest, a lot of close games, a lot of Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Pickens are going to have to make plays. Pickens had a great day. He's going to draw. Like, it's one of those things where a lot of teams, and I don't get this, are just saying, well, we're just going to play man-on-man with Pickens. And the Cowboys are just like, all right, if you do that, we're just going to keep attacking you. And so far, we've gotten 3 big pass interference plays. Pickens has, a big touchdown. He had a number of big catches down the stretch. I don't know what you do here if you're in opposition. I think you have to play zone, right? But again, that should theoretically open things up down the stretch, because we've seen Dallas now back-to-back games, right, against a better Eagles defense, obviously, than New York, but a very good New York pass rush. That was a really good element here. And again, I'm going to give credit to the Giants. They had a good game plan. They went out and executed it. They just couldn't make enough plays to win the game. And this is if you're a Giants fan, which I know you guys aren't, this is a tough loss. But this is boy, what an exhilarating performance for the Dallas Cowboys. Just finding a way to win, man. That's what it's about. All right. Listen, obviously, like I always like to plug here, if you're a member to support us, I greatly appreciate it. Becoming a member allows us to do more stuff with this daily show. And if you are a member, I will always shout out your comments. I will answer every single one of your comments. So if you are a member, I'm going to give you a shout out in our next video in the morning when we talk about this game. Become a member if you want to get a shout out. There's going to be film reviews coming. I want to look at Booker's performance. I want to see what Toya did, right? They did good in the run game. I'm curious if the rookie defensive tackle, and maybe take a look at Ezeraku. I'm a little concerned that we're not getting much, but maybe the film shows a different story. So there's stuff definitely coming. They found a way, guys. And this is, I don't know what you come from here. I don't know what you take away. Week 1, you're like, went on the road against a good football team, this close to winning. They went at home against a mediocre football team and won by this much. Middle of the road, right? That's kind of what we've been saying from Dallas. High variance team week to week. And listen, again, take your heart medicine if you need it, because it's going to be that kind of year for the Cowboys. But I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning. We break down this performance with more data. But until then, I'm Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection.